Hello, everybody. Just wanted to welcome you to our webinar on how Grantek can help with staff reinforcement and project planning. My name is Jeremy Simon. I'll be hosting the session today with my colleague and friend, Michael Gair. It's our goal really to kind of just go through some information and stuff that we've learned over the years and hopefully provide some options to potentially meet your needs. I'm sure we all have, been in the same boat of needing some help or having some issues and stuff in the past where you've got a large project or you have operational type tasks that you've been working on, or you just different things you've had to, experience challenges and stuff where you would need some potential assistance. So we're here to share some ideas, some learnings from some of that stuff, and hopefully, help our customers. Just before we get started, one of the things, just a couple little house tips here is try not to get too distracted. Again, hopefully, if there's something I've mentioned or you need clarification on something, I'll have an opportunity for some questions and stuff afterwards. Otherwise, take notes, use the chat, answer polls. It definitely helps to be as interactive as possible. In terms of the agenda today, we're going to just cover some introductions on who we are, little stuff about Grantek. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the labor market and just kind of some of the things and trends we're seeing, as well as then from a Grantek perspective, kind of what augmentation looks like for you and the customer. We'll run through some scenarios and then leave some time for some questions and answers. So first, a quick introduction. So for myself, my name is Jeremy Simon, as I mentioned earlier. I've been doing work in the food and beverage and pharma industry now for over 20 plus years. I definitely have a passion for being on site and do my best to understand our customers, their needs, and just really see what we can do to help them support projects. And this is where this really kind of comes in, is having been in this industry for a while and just really trying to see and understand some of the challenges our customers are having. I'm hoping to bring some of that experience to you. I'll leave it to you, Michael, to introduce yourself.
Hi, folks. Mike Gair. I've been with Grantek for about 20 years, same kind of timeline as Jeremy in the industry. My current role in our operations group has to do with advancing some of the tactics and strategies we have around how we approach operations, project execution, but also support and augmentation in Grantek. A big part of that involves building and expanding our network of partner companies that we work with within North America and around the globe. Some of those notes come into the augmentation topic that we're going into today. So thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. We're looking forward to your questions as well. Thanks, Jeremy.
So first, I'll get started. Just a little bit of information on Grantek. So hopefully most of you are familiar with Grantek. If not, if you have a chance to check out our website, we have a lot of great information and content there. Some of the key areas of specialty as an integrator we work with is automation. So everything from PLCs and HMIs, upgrades, improvement projects. We help with electrical design, everything from drawings, panel design to electrical support up to 480 volts. We do have partners that can help with more than that. We do packaging design, both food and beverage and pharmaceutical. So just kind of helping on that side. Similarly, process design, all the way from raw materials coming into shipping product. Preliminary engineering, similarly helping to look and map out different things that are happening in your organization. Contractor management, so we can do turnkey projects. Again, everything from start to finish. We also, just based on, again, some of the market and helping our customers and stuff, another area we've come across is the need for industrial networking and IT. So again, another area we've kind of grown that to help our customers with that, especially on the plant floor side of things. Safety and machine guarding, another huge area where Grantek has kind of grown over the last 10 years and really just partnering with some of our customers to help them with the design all the way up to remediation, safety assessments. Smart manufacturing, similarly there, that's everything from MES to OEE. Again, really being able to kind of help get that data from the plant floor up to the operations side of the business. Validation, as mentioned, doing stuff with pharmaceutical. We're doing everything from, the documentation all the way up to your IQ, OQ, and PQs, so your qualification. Infrastructure and auxiliary systems, helping set up server rooms, any type of network type stuff, as well. And then lastly, just some warehouse management, again, just from the the logistics side of warehouse controls to AGVs, logistics and data flow, even just sending data up to SAP just as part of your inventory management. Just in terms a little bit just of our customers. So we do have, a lot of different manufacturers and stuff that we work with, a lot of global brands and stuff. Again, you'd see some of that more detailed information on our website. But Grantek, having started over 40 years ago, we've really been trying to help our customers with a lot of the stuff I'd mentioned on the other slide there. As well as just wanted to kind of note a few other things here, again, just to kind of expand on is, everything from, the automation side to new plant installations. We also do support, maintenance, and troubleshooting. So we do have a 24/7 support option to really help our customers kind of maintain and keep running their business. We're also working on continuous improvement initiatives. And we see here, as I mentioned, kind of with some of the smart manufacturing, we're also doing a lot with business and enterprise manufacturing intelligence, so MES. And then, as we're going to talk about now, another big thing that we've kind of come across the last couple of years is finding different ways to help our customers with staff reinforcement and training or augmentation. Just before we get started, we're just going to throw a quick poll question there just to get a kind of gauge a little bit from whoever's on this call here to see what you're kind of seeing in the industry. So, I guess the question is, is your company experiencing any labor challenges currently? That would be like, have you recently lost PMs or engineers, various key technical operators or technical maintenance, key pieces of your staff that, can potentially be hard to find and train. And we'll talk about this towards the end of the webinar. So just before we get into things, I'm just going to spend a moment and talk a little bit about the current labor market. I'm sure this chart here and some of the stuff that we see on the screen here won't be, too much of a surprise to people. But what we're kind of seeing here is a steady increase in terms of changes in the labor market itself. That was kind of always the case. It was always kind of a general trend towards that. But then what we saw with COVID was we kind of saw it amplified. So what was already becoming an issue with labor is just, again, amplified. So now we're seeing even more challenges. So I think long-term, it's going to be key for companies to kind of look at, their workforce and in terms of automation or other areas to really find a balance between, meeting the needs of what you would have in terms of people working there. And again, what you could look to, supplement or, and again, that's where we will, we'll talk a little bit more about that and how we can help. But the immediate challenge as well we're seeing is in technical resources. So if you have a line operator, that might be an easier role to fill. But when it comes to the technical side of things, as you would have people retiring, we're seeing a lot of people kind of moving around in the industry. That leads to a struggle to kind of fill gaps, on your engineering side or again, those technical operators or maintenance people. The other thing is, as we see our customers lose people, or we're seeing about similar trends in the industry, we see a gap of, just really being able to hire in a timely manner. So if you do lose somebody, it's always a challenge to get somebody up to speed. Just based on those training cycles, some of them can be complicated, some of them can be a lot of material. And so you could see anywhere from taking weeks to months to get potential resources up to speed on items. So as we really work with our partners as a company, we've really brought in to assist and try to help figure out if we can help speed up that process, or, if you were to say have somebody leaving, the goal is again for us to really try to kind of come in and help learn some of that stuff before they would leave. But at the end of the day, it's how can you as a company adjust, and how can Grantek potentially help you with some of that? And so again, we'll share some ideas and stuff around that. So what does augmentation look like? So I guess, what are we really talking about here? So, as we've kind of defined it, and again, this is kind of based on how we're currently trying to help a lot of our customers in the industry, what we kind of have it divided up is these different areas. So I'll say this is where it gets just a little bit more complicated, as it can vary by customer and industry. So you're going to kind of see a bit of a shift. And again, we'll try to break a little bit of that down. And similarly, we could also follow up with additional items if needed. Per this slide, if we could just walk through the various areas, I'm going to start up in the left-hand side there, the top corner with the specialty services, and just kind of break it down a little bit more and just kind of define them. So again, starting with that specialty services, That's the idea of life sciences, food and beverage, smart manufacturing, the industrial IT, and cybersecurity. So we do have a lot of industry experts in those areas. So similarly, that's where we're often brought in to do consulting, or to be able to have somebody come on site for say a couple of months and be able to learn a bit more about the industry, and similarly help our customers navigate what could potentially be a process that they would need to go through. We have remote options. This is where Grantek's able to remotely do work, remotely support, different types of things like that. So we can do various stuff remotely, which also helps to reduce some of the travel costs or other things that might be associated with that. We also have project and program management. So similarly, from project managers to a full-blown program that you might need to roll out across multiple sites. Examples of our programs have been, we have label verification, safety, machine safety, different types of programs and stuff like that are things we've helped our customers kind of roll out across, many multiple sites. And then we also have kind of the design piece. So again, there could be something, you might have just a quicker short-term need, rather than carve out an RFP or something like that, where it might be some of the process might not be understood yet. Then that's where we would potentially come and help with some design. Or we have full-blown embedded. We've worked with some of our customers to have our engineers embedded on site for 6 months or longer. And then there's kind of that last piece in the top right corner. I just wanted to make sure I also mention is there is kind of that support and maintenance component to it too. Is we could always come in and help with a particular task, but then that could lead to something that's maybe just more of a 24/7 support, where again somebody would potentially be able to remote in or help with something that comes up in the last minute. Just want to talk a little bit about the value. So what exactly is the value here? And I think everybody's kind of seen different variations and stuff of this this triangle here. There's always kind of that general rule of thumb, pick two, as they say. So really, this I just kind of wanted to highlight is, if you're working on a project or stuff, there can be, risk of schedule or overruns, or you can also spend a little bit more additional resource and time. So we can also look at like time, you could basically put more additional resources on it. And then you've got budget. So or it's just you budget constraint. So if there's a budget constraint, then time, might be something that you might have to decrease. Or similarly, if you want to increase time, then it can be cheaper. So there's different various things we can kind of look at here. So that's where I've kind of really modified that concept to show it's kind of similar to keeping our plants and projects running. So in this particular case, that would be kind of the goal of the triangle. And then the goal there is to balance it. So how, as you as an organization, are balancing that, and where does the value come in? So, we've seen, where a lot of companies would lose a key resource that may have worked on a line or worked in a plant or done certain key maintenance on equipment. And so this could be, this could mean the value of having us come in right away is being able to get that line back up and running as soon as possible. So again, at that point, you're minimizing your downtime and, the production, issues or things like that. Then we can kind of keep things running and keep you in a good steady state. It could also mean being involved to help, in specialized areas. So similarly, it could be more of a specialized type of equipment, or there's specialized hardware, and we'll kind of expand on that a little bit more. But either way, the goal here is really we can help with, materials or ways or training or different things like that to help kind of keep these different things in this triangle kind of under control. So there can be a lot of value of, reducing that downtime, or potentially, trying to also then save money in different ways. So again, we'll kind of expand on a little bit more in the next couple slides. So from a customer perspective, I think I've really kind of alluded to and talked a little bit about it already. But it was from you, the customer, what does it look like on paper? How can Grantek support you? So as noted, it may depend on your needs. It could be that the first step of the conversation is usually understanding, what your need would be, what's come up. Like, is it more of a project type thing? Is it a support type of thing? Is there some immediate need that you have that, again, might not be conducive to having to go through like a whole RFP process? And then that's where, you would also want to understand, like from a budget perspective, is like, what does that look like? Let's say I need somebody for 2 months, then that's us working with you to figure out and help you with a budget to see if that's something that would even be an option. So depending on the need and timing, it could also be us getting somebody on site, again, short term, just to help with something short term. It could then be from a short-term perspective, we could go to like more of a remote model, or providing the necessary training to your team. So training is something we could also do. It could be, also coming in and providing consulting or expertise in a given area. And just as we do have some really good examples later on, we're going to share around some of that stuff. But we have had customers in the pharma side. We've provided embedded resources there to help out. Especially when it comes to getting a plant ready for something like qualification. Or maybe it just means, taking a new coating machine and understanding how to fit it into the process. Or you've got a machine or something where you have a cleaning cycle. So you've got a CIP process that needs to happen and you need to, include a new cycle or something in it. Or maybe it's just a complex piece of equipment. And again, you had somebody who was maintaining that. They're no longer there. The OEM can't get on site for a month, and that's something where you would need us to kind of come in and help you with that. So either way, really, it's, from your side, it's us really partnering with you. Our goal is to really, again, help our customers and, especially through some of these tougher times in this labor market to keep up and, be able to keep their plants running and maintain production. From the Grantek side, so what does it look like for us? And this is where, what I would just kind of add is, it really kind of depends on the need. And so for us, just being an ever changing market, we see that as well. Even as, an integrator, we see where we have engineers or PMs or different people will, sometimes leave the industry or different things kind of come up. And so that's kind of one of those things as well, where through that process, we've kind of leveraged a lot of the learnings around some of that stuff and just kind of documented different things on our side. So I think it's very important, even for you as the customer, is, what are you currently doing in terms of documenting or putting different types of procedures in place for different roles and things at your organization. But for us, it's also, again, as I kind of mentioned on the last slide there, is really helping our customers. Like, how can we partner with you? So on our side, it's really, helping to look for what would be a cost-effective way. So one of our first things on our side is to really try to understand what your need is, and then try to put together some budgets and some kind of key information and stuff that, would kind of come into play around that. So if you have someone on site and if they run into situations or end up with technical-based questions or the need for solutions and they don't have experience in it, that's where we have a full team of engineers behind Grantek that can help. So, and I think that's another area that's allowed us to leverage helping our customers is, again, having access to, a full-blown team of engineers with a wide range of skill sets. So for us, it really comes down to understanding your ask and then figuring out, what your workflow is and then trying to see if it's something where we might be the right fit to come in and help you. So at this point, we're just going to kind of look through a couple of different support scenarios. And so this will just kind of allow me to hopefully maybe break it down just a little more for you in terms of what I mean by, different ways that we could potentially help you to see if it is the right fit. So, I think that the first we would kind of look at is this project support approach. And so again, the idea here is where this has come up with our customers is it could be a case where you may not have a clearly defined, RFP or request for proposal. So it's not something, you've been able to define and say, okay, here's a specific, exactly what we need. Give me a cost for that. Maybe you need help even putting that RFP together and you're not sure what that looks like. So, from a project-based approach, typically our customers will say, okay, we need somebody to come on site for a few weeks and help kind of define some of the stuff and put that together. So, it could be something like that. It could also be, more of like a remote-based thing where, again, it allows us to, tap into the Grantek resources where maybe there's a couple of different tasks. Like, let's say, for example, you had 10 different tasks that needed to be completed over a 10-week period. What that would mean is it allows us to potentially pull in the immediate resources we would need around those different tasks to be able to try to complete that in that 10-week time frame, or potentially even, do it sooner. So really it's kind of, so instead of like, and we'll talk about more about that embedded aspect, but it's that handling it as a project could be something that could help both our organization as well as your organization. So again, really, it's kind of trying to find that right model where we would, be able to kind of help you. So, that project thing is key. And then there is, we could also just put an embedded resource. So it could also just be something like that where you would like to have your team manage that resource. And then that could be something where, similarly, we would just have somebody on site and then your team manages that person rather than us using a project approach and balancing it on our side of things. The other thing is in terms of, there's a partner-based approach. So another way we've kind of worked with our customers who, again, we are partnering with our customers. We also then have, partners and resources and stuff out there. So this could also be something, we would potentially see if it's a cost effective or a better solution and stuff to be able to help you as the customer. And one of these types of things would be, as we kind of look at this here, is technologies. There's a lot of different technologies out there now. If you look at hardware, there's probably thousands of different hardware technologies, from PLCs to HMIs, motors, drives, safety equipment, network equipment. There's just so much out there. And so that's where a lot of times we'll often even depend on our partners for assistance with some of those technologies. And so similarly, we would look for ways to help, your organization with some of that stuff as well. The same would apply on the software side. Again, from programming to the SCADA. You're also seeing MES, ERP, SAP. I mean, I can throw out, a whole bunch of different acronyms of all the different types of software and stuff out there. And software is probably even more challenging, as I note there, because it's changing daily. There's always seems like there's some new update or something else coming out, and lots of questions of how is this update potentially going to break something else, or is it going to cause other problems? And so again, these are the types of scenarios or different things that we can help with. And then we also are, if you'll see on our website, we also are CSIA certified. We are part of that network. And so that also allows us to work with those partners in those networks to be able to, again, either assist us with stuff if there's a technology type question, or similarly, it could also be something where, for us to find the right fit, it would be another company we would potentially partner with. Again, really here, the goal at the end of the day is how can we help scale to help you as the customer. I guess, and then the next logical question of all of this stuff is, in terms of is next steps and cost, from that point is, what would be the next step in this scenario? And so I think it comes down to is, do you see a need? Is there something you have a need for, or, do you need somebody to potentially come in and look at something? Did you lose an operator and you need somebody with some technical knowledge to come in and support? So I think really, depending on some of that stuff, that would be, I would say you would approach us as potentially as Grantek to come in and help you. But then that's where what we would do is we would similarly understand what your need is. And then we would look at, different, types of scenarios, or we could also just look at different, options. And then what we would do is we would provide a budget. So we can also just put together a quick budget for you just to give you an idea of what it would look like. And then see if it's something we could be, the right fit. So, if you see a potential gap in your workforce or something like that, it could be something where we could help. So at least it's either way worth a conversation. Just as I kind of noted here, it's, the biggest thing is I think understanding your process. And so again, if you are documenting and being able to do some of that stuff, it's great. But again, if you need our help to potentially do some of that stuff, we are here to help. And then the one other little caveat I'm going to add there is, our team is primarily engineers. So, I would say it's definitely probably not an affordable scenario if you're just looking for an operator to have an engineer come in to operate your line. Really, it would be beneficial for us to really help in a lot more of these kind of technical scenarios and stuff. So, but if that's the case, if you're just looking for that, maybe, just like a staffing agency or some type of temp firm might be a better fit. But again, for us, it's really been able to help our customers with technical type stuff. So again, especially in the operational side of things, where it comes to, downtime on a production line, or, as mentioned, whether it's consulting in, the pharma, the food and beverage industry. So yeah, I think would be the next big thing here is, understanding your budget expectation. And then we can, see if, again, it's something where Grantek would be able to potentially help or even offer you a different solution. I'm just going to kind of take a little bit of a pause here to ask another poll question. Is if you were to kind of look at, as an organization and stuff, do you see any limits for your ability to temporarily augment your staff? So, what would you say is like, is it, if you are in a situation, what types of factors do you run into? Like, is budget, something that would be, a challenge, availability, or skills mismatch? So again, just a quick poll question here for some feedback, and then while everybody's kind of putting some questions in there, or potentially putting in some poll answers, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Gair now to talk a little bit about some of our success stories around this.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, lots of good content. Why don't we drill into some of the recent things that we've done and how we have had success with and for our clients and customers in this area. Like Jeremy mentioned, we're doing a lot of this type of work, augmenting our customers' teams actively at the moment, and have been for years. There seems to be, obviously, the driver for this discussion even today. There seems to be an uptick in this need, certainly coming out of COVID and in recent years. We're helping with everything from supporting ramp-up challenges to simple staff augmentation for capacity within the plant or within operations. Generally, our customers are doing this certainly for a number of reasons, but to control budget in some ways, to Jeremy's point around understanding budget and how you can have good use of your OpEx towards achieving a goal without carrying that cost for long term, can be a major incentive or impetus for doing this type of work or working with us in this way. But generally, there's just growth plans in the production floor that are hard to staff towards to meet in this challenging labor market, and there is more churn and there tends to be more attrition. And one of the earlier polls that, thanks to everybody who answered, certainly some folks are seeing, or a good chunk of folks are seeing more issues with this in current times than in the past few years. So we're helping in lots of different ways. We've got the expertise, we've got the skill sets, we've got the folks who know the line of business that we touch the most, to Jeremy's point, even though there are boundaries there. So let's talk about some examples. Jeremy, if you can go to the next one. So in this case, we were working with, number one on the list, we were working with a life science manufacturer in this case, who was dealing with a pileup of support requests internally. The bottom line is things just don't always work the way that they're supposed to. So machines, lines, different pieces of their equipment were having some problems. They were building up a backlog of support requests internally that were overloading their internal controls team and their technician team and the ability to handle those. We knew this customer from other project work, and we had a discussion about how we could support their internal team to help them get through that backlog. So we found a strong engineer from our internal team, embedded them for 4 months, for 16 weeks, to help just take a crack at that backlog and support their team overall, and really just augment the team that they had. So it's full on-site work with a local resource, temporary cost for the customer to do this. And within those 4 months, we were able to help them get back on track with that backlog of work that they had, production maintained at the level that they were looking for. And of course, the customer enjoyed a temporary cost to get through that piece rather than the ongoing cost of needing to hire somebody and add to their team, which they may have found a good person, but building up a team and training and so on, to Jeremy's point before, has a cost to it as well. And there's a long-term carrying piece to that also. Some of these situations, and this one in particular, the individual that we had on site to do this work obviously gained some more insight into some other potential problems within the customer's world, and was able to advise their controls team on other things to take a look at as well. And we're happy to continue to support in any way that we can if we extend beyond these initial engagements. So this was a win for everybody. The customer was quite happy here. Next one, Jeremy, if you could, please. Second example in recent months, or over the recent year, I should say, was with a large food manufacturer based in the US. Unfortunately, they were dealing with some pretty significant attrition and staff turnover, and we're having some hiring challenges in recouping that force of a team that they were looking for to keep production up to what they wanted. They were seeing some impact to volume and quality due to that churn of resources. So we had a discussion with them about how we could help. This plant wasn't local to any of our offices, but we had folks that we could make available locally, which was positive. And we were able to put a team together of 6 folks that we embedded for what ended up being a full year engagement on rotating shifts covering 24/7 support. Everyone we found or that we put together to build that team and presented to the customer again to evaluate, of course, before they went on site. They were all strong in the technology of those production lines, general operations in that type of facility. Some knew that exact facility. Some had worked in similar facilities. And all were capable of working with OEMs as well to solve unique problems that might come up. So maybe back again to Jeremy's point, there's a bit of a line operations tone to this, but there's also the technical know-how and the deeper controls and automation experience that really help them move along, plus the ability to be, again, senior enough or experienced enough to work with the OEM and steer what the OEMs needed to do if there was a problem with a specific machine that wasn't going to be resolved internally by the team on site. So generally this was good. We had some extension of timelines because there was such a positive outcome to working together in this way. We got our customer back to their operations targets. They stopped having the issues that they were seeing before. And we did continue to extend that timeline as we went through it. And we continue actually to work with them in similar ways as they continue to rebuild the workforce that they have. Same to that last example where our team has become an option of a value add to their team when needed. So not a need for them to carry the cost of those folks on staff all the time, but we'll make the right people available to come and do other service and support work as needed outside of the staff aug engagement once that has actually wrapped up, which was the case here. Okay, and then one more of these, Jeremy, if you could please, back to the pharma world again. In this case, we had a customer who had gone through some M&A, some acquisition work, had acquired a new facility. We're tuning that facility to match their standards and their needs within operations, but needed some support to get this new facility ramped up and production ready, again, within their controls and requirements in a pretty short time frame to hit their, again, production goals and financial plans. And they needed some expert help to make that as fast as possible and to reduce the mistakes that they might bump into along the way. So from our staff, we grabbed one of our lead pharma consultants and embedded them for a number of months with the customer, generally to steer everything from automation strategy or implementation strategy, how to tie that work in through, again, the qualification pieces. So the VMV and all the through the IOPQ side of things as well, just basically to set out all the steps so that there wouldn't be any bumps along the way and we could have a fast scale up and fast go live plan for this particular site. The person that we brought in has a long tenure, a long history in the pharma world and was able to speak to all those pieces. So here you're embedding a consultant in the team who has hands-on capabilities with the actual systems and with the machines or otherwise or plant floor, but can really also sit back in the boardroom and help guide the overall planning team and the more senior team in laying out the approach that they're going to take to ramp things up quickly. So this worked out well. The client was able to get to those startup readiness targets and hit their timeline. Again, I go back to not much of a carrying cost for the client. To Jeremy's point, bringing in a consultant can be an expensive endeavor for anyone. There are certainly big firms, lots of big firms out there that can find great people who can fill this type of need. Our unique balance comes from the ability of the person who can sit in that consulting role, but also has really good plant floor knowledge and can augment any decision making based on that knowledge that they have. While it is a higher cost side of staff augmentation, we still find that we are price competitive in this zone just by the nature of the business that we're in and by the nature of the focus of areas that we can help in from a consulting point of view. So this was seen as a win-win with this particular customer as well. And we're looking at other engagements with them as they continue to ramp up production in that facility. So all good things here. Jeremy, if you could go on to the next one, please. So maybe I'll just ask everybody, out of those, were there any of those success stories that kind of resonate with your needs in your facility? So is it a situation, or do you have situations where you have a need for internal controls or design team bandwidth support? Do you have issues with line operations and just general staffing challenges there? Do you have more of those complex situations where you need consulting level help or more senior level help to steer a much larger, again, and complex kind of situation? Or is it something totally different? Number 4, the catch-all other. Curious to see what your situations are. If you're able to click those buttons and let us know, that would be great. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Definitely, a good highlight of some of the ways, again, we've really been able to help our customers. And, even just kind of you kind of going through some of that stuff reminded me of some of the things there. So a good point for me to kind of summarize some of that stuff. And so, as mentioned, I think you talked a little bit about the different areas and just some of the cost and some of the value there of even the different level of resources. And so again, that's something as well where we can, look at that particular level of resource and really be able to potentially help you. But really, at the end of the day, the biggest goal I can mention is really for us to partner with our customers to help make sure you as a customer are successful. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's what keeps us all in business and allows us to pay the bills. So, it's really, making you happy is finding the right fit, the right model. And again, just seeing, where we can potentially, fit into your team if that's something that you're in need of. So, as an organization, again, I encourage you to do your best to document, and understand some of the details of these various roles and stuff as part of your team. But again, if it's something that comes up or you run into a situation where you need some project or staff reinforcement, we're here to help. So as mentioned, I mean, we have specialty services in the various areas. We can look at different types of remote options. There's a lot of different things we can do, from project management all the way up to, consulting on various things or various parts of the process. If you are in need of some of these services, definitely please reach out to Grantek. There's an email there. Check out our site. We do have offices all over the U.S. and Canada, as well as some other areas, so we can potentially look to help you. But again, really, it's there's a lot of different challenges out there. It's a challenging and ever-changing market, and so it's something we're looking to again see where we can help. And we just really appreciate your time, kind of going through some of this stuff. And so what I do want to do as well is make sure I do touch on some of the items we had around some of the surveys and stuff from earlier on in terms of the surveys. It was noted, just based on the first one, was talking about the challenges and stuff this year from the results. And then it looks like about 43% have seen this past year being very challenging. So I kind of see a steady increasing, where there's some that have not had any challenges, which is great, all the way up to about 43% of you running into a lot of challenges in the last year. So again, it's it's understandable. Again, that is kind of that market. And again, hopefully there's, different ways and stuff that, we can potentially help you. But, if not, as I noted before, and some other stuff is, definitely try to document and try to help, make sure you've got your people trained and stuff. And that definitely helps along the way. The other idea and the other question from the one poll there is, what limits your ability to temporarily augment? That was actually pretty evenly split between budget, availability of help, and skills mismatch. So there was definitely a split on that one. That was about 30% each there. And then the last one here, in terms of the stories that resonate in terms of the needs, it looks like we've got about 60% is seeing a complex situation that needs consulting. So that's interesting. Again, that's something, we can potentially help with. And I think, as Mike mentioned, there can be a lot of value to that, where sometimes trying to go, the full-blown route of having a full-blown consultant come in can get very pricey, where, it's something where we might be able to assist you, with having an individual that understands that industry, even define the potential starting points for that. As well as then I see the other big one here is the internal controls, design team and bandwidth shortage. As we've noted, where we have embedded people, that is, again, a common area where if you have maintenance technicians or others that understand PLCs are doing some of the stuff, and as the market gets more competitive and you lose that, it can be difficult to backfill that right away. So, yep, again, areas and stuff we've helped our customers with, and it's something we would look to potentially try to help you with. At this point, I'm going to open it up to some questions. So I'll looks like we've got a question here. What cities or states does Grantek focus on to provide staff augmentation? Good question. Mike, did you want to take that question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good question. So sometimes locality comes into play when we're talking about staff augmentation. Certainly within North America, you can check it out on our website if you're not familiar. Grantek, we have what's the number now? I'm forgetting, 8 or 9 offices. We just moved a couple things spread around North America. Obviously, there's clusters of our people around those brick and mortar offices that can support quite easily if your facility happens to be nearby. But all said, our remote team continues to expand. And we're able to cover really anywhere in North America at this stage. And I could give some case studies about just about any state or major city around the US, certainly Canada as well, that we can support in. Some of this comes from our internal team. And then if there is a very geographically complex situation that we need to work with, we have partners in a number of areas that can help support those teams as well. So I would say generally anywhere across the US and Canada. For those who might be looking at our website, we have a team in Bangalore in India as well. If you happen to have operations that are underway in other countries, such as India or elsewhere in Europe, South America, or otherwise, we have partners that can support us there. We have internal staff that can support within India itself, or at least near Bangalore, I should say. So quite a bit of geography that we can touch, but really no limit, I would say, within the US and within Canada as well.
Actually, speaking of that, there's another question here, Mike, you'd be able to talk about as well. Is, do you support using your people only, or do you contract out staff augmentation?
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, good question. So, I mean, certainly we have a large, Grantek, we're sitting in that close to 250 individuals in the company. We have a large internal team that we'll often start with to support our clients if we can, across a variety of skill sets and so on. But we do have external to that point that I was making, external partners that we work with as well. So it can be a blend. It really all it's about, and I think, Jeremy, you said this well, it's about understanding what our customers are looking for, what unique skill sets they require, or what unique needs that they have. As I was saying early on in this presentation, as we continue to grow our extended workforce program in Grantek, it gives us other options in business-to-business interactions that we can solve more complex and more unique situations for our customers, again, in unique geography or with unique technology, Jeremy, to your point before. So it's a bit of a blend of both. It depends on what your needs are. There might be needs around even geography. We have some customers that we work with where to work in a particular industry or facility, folks have to be of a certain nationality. And that's by regulation. So we'll look to fit that and to match that as best we can. So we have a growing number of options to do this. So it's a bit of a blend of both. We often will start with our internal folks, but we definitely have external options to make sure that we're hitting your needs correctly.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good point. I noticed when in terms of the summary, as I was just kind of summarizing some of the stuff, I think it is important to really understand that need, and we will work with you to try to help find that best fit. And I think just as part of that process is just having that conversation doesn't always necessarily have to result in, us providing some type of support or something. It could even be advice, or at least having that discussion that can solve potentially some of those needs. There's another question here around cost. I think I kind of alluded to a little bit. I think, again, really does, take understanding what the need is. But from generally, it's like, if you're looking for, simple type controls programming, or, a lower cost resource, you're looking at whatever that resource cost would be for that given week. We would also then need to understand, as mentioned, is it something that requires travel? Do we have to travel to a different location? We might have to look at, what that model would look like in that particular case. Or if it was more of, a senior engineer that has a lot of that type of consulting knowledge or expertise, then again, similar, that might be a little bit, different support structure as to what that would look like and how we would want to set that up. But again, that's where we can be flexible in working with you around that. What else do we? There's another question here. It looks like, what technologies can you support? And actually, I think Mike just mentioned that in terms of, there is a lot of different technologies. And so I'll say, honestly, we probably could support most of what our customers would deal with, because it's something where our internal team is very strong in a lot of core areas. And again, our website does have a lot of information if you do have some questions around those core technologies. But similarly, if there is more unique stuff with our partner network and stuff, we could definitely reach out and aim to get you that support. So we would definitely do our best to try to help there. Who should I? Oh, so another question here. It's who should I contact to learn more? One of us, or would it be somebody else at Grantek? I think the key there would be, obviously, I'm sure Mike and I would be more than happy to help or point you in the right direction. It could be similarly, if you check the website and you're looking for a local Grantek resource, that local person at the local office would also similarly be able to help. There is a general, I think it was info@grantek.com. So there's a couple of different ways and stuff. I think the best would be, reach out, and I'm sure somebody inside of Grantek would be more than happy to point you in the right direction. Another question here is, what are the limitations of your staff augmentation offerings or abilities? What can't you do? Do you want to take that one, Mike?
What can't we do?
What can't we do?
Oh dear. How long do we have? No, it's a it's a good question, and in the context of this, a smart question for sure. And I think, Jeremy, you touched on some parts of this too, and I gave an example that, for instance, that touched on line operations and so on. There are parts of so let's say our focus areas will be on technologies or skill sets that we would typically arm our staff or build within our engineering staff overall and our project management staff. So within the controls and automation space, within the data solution space, MES solutions, tying into your ERP systems, maybe some unique coding, certainly getting right down to the controls and automation hardware, some support of that. Now, if you needed to augment your maintenance tech team, that's probably not where we're fitting in well. If you want line operators at their core to run the line, that's not something that our internal folks will often be price competitive to do. Now, I will say, though, as far as things that we can't do, part of the intention of the network of folks that we work with is that we can at least help to steer you to someone who might be able to help you. I think, Jeremy, you said it well before. If I remember, you talked about working with staffing agencies, recruiting agencies to place different folks that might fill some unique needs that you have. We also work with some great staffing agencies and recruiting agencies within our world of technical solutions from a system integrator point of view. We'd be happy to always support our customers as a customer rep to get you in with the right companies that can supply really good folks to solve your problems if we can't do it ourselves, or just to make the introduction to and pass you over to some folks that we've tried and tested over the years, and we're confident in their ability to put forward good resources for what your needs might be. So So yeah, the list of what we can't do, we could answer that a couple different ways. We want to keep it, usually we're going to add the most value within the typical core offerings that we could, in a lot of cases, bundle up as a project, I think, to Jeremy's point earlier. But just doing that through an augmentation play, being part of your team, augmenting the team that you already have, and keeping it to our core skills. But again, we're happy to help and can help you find ways to solve the other parts that we can't do ourselves. Does that sound right, Jeremy? Did I miss anything there you'd add?
No, actually, I think that's a good point. And I think even just like a clarification of what I mentioned earlier in terms of, that yes, we can partner you up as well with, the people you would need. So in terms of being that staffing agency and stuff, that is something, at the end of the day, yes, we can help you with. That's a good point. And actually on that note, I'm looking, I don't see any additional questions. So, first and foremost, thank you everybody for attending. Again, it's our goal to do our best as a company to help you all be successful. Thank you very much for that. And then just a reminder that in terms of anybody who attended, there will be a recording of the session sent out. So if there's anything you wanted to review again or follow up with, otherwise, any additional questions or information and stuff, you can send an email to info@grantek.com, or as mentioned, our website. We have all of our additional contact information there. So thank you very much for attending.
Thanks, folks.